bestie, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amber from the Crafty Reporter, and today we are sewing up the Brentwood backpack by Rosa patterns. I've made 2 of these so far and I absolutely love them. The construction is very unique, so let's go through a little bit of it. This bag comes in at 9.5 inches wide, 11.5 inches tall, and 5.5 inches deep at the base. I break this pattern in intermediate. The bottom is bound. The rest of it is not. That's the only bound seam is on the bottom, but it can get a little tricky, and that would be the only reason that I put it as intermediate. Also, the darts can be a little intimidating if you've never done them before, although they aren't very hard. On my version today, I added D-rings on both of these side accent pieces. We also install some Chicago screws, and we do purse feet on the bottom. For ease, I just use webbing and I love it. You will need some super glue if you don't have any, so that's the only thing to add this handle on is super glue. You will need it. I used a size 19 needle on this bag, but I did use a size 20 when attaching the base, just because I'm using a vinyl that's a little bit thicker and it had a lot of layers. One question I got asked quite a bit when this bag came out was, why do we need this much zipper tape? This seems like a waste down here, but as you'll see when we make this bag, you really do need the side zipper tape all the way down to the bottom. It makes this bag much easier to turn and handle when finishing. You can see from this side detail here, you can't really see. Underneath this side detail, there are rivets on either side of the zipper, and it prevents the zipper pull from going down into the side of the bag. So that is that, but it still opens up pretty wide. I do show you how I install my bag plate on this bag in case you've never done it before and that's something you want to learn how to do. And we make minor adjustments to the interfacing of this pattern. I slide in a foam piece on the front and back panels to help with structure. I also do not add Decaville light to this slip pocket piece just because it does get handled a lot. I don't think it's necessary because the actual bag on the inside holds its shape pretty well, and I'm using a thicker material here for my pocket. And I also added cardboard into the bottom. It just really helps. It's something I've been doing for a while now, and it really helps with the structure. I like to load up my bags, and I'm assuming other people do as well. And so I've been doing it since, gosh, the Mr. Heckles handbag by Sincerely Jen, and I'm still using that bag, and it still looks brand new. This is a 2 bobbin bag. I didn't even use a full 2 bobbins, so even with my detail. All links for everything used in my video will be down below in the description, so please check that out. If you have any questions, let me know and I will be sure to answer them. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little bag tour here so you can see how all of these slip/zipper pockets work. The zipper is really just right below this slip pocket, so they're really not hard to get into. And I'll also show you the inside of the bag close up. The fabrics I used on my bag, this is Shimmer Shift from Fabric Therapy. It's not released yet, but we're in the testing phases. I got the Harry Potter Chicago screws from Extra Magical Designs. This bag plate, it says Muggle Made. This is from Level Up Hardware Design. From what I understand, she doesn't have a website anymore, but she does still sell in her Facebook group. All the rainbow hardware is from Mormino. My purse feet are from Siah Swag. My thread is from Siah Swag. I'm not sure what the color is called, but it says it's color F350. I'll put a link below, but it actually matches this really well. You can't see it too much, so. This fabric up here I had printed from Luxe Fabric Supply. It's just a seamless file that I got. I'll go ahead and tag the artist below. This is on Luxe Supply's new ripstop. You can see the texture. So I did a layer of woven, then my Decaville Light, then another layer of woven since it is very thin. The design is just so cute. I'm not sure who I got the zipper tape from or the poles. They're very old. I've had them for a long time in my stash, but the webbing is from Indo Kreation. I did it to match my little headband, so that's fun. And I got these really cute, this Harry Potter, it says, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. I got that from Heartwood and Hide. It's so cute. And there is a magically made woven label on the inside that you'll see during construction, and that is from Mormino. It is before she stopped selling inspired items, but sometimes you can message her and she still has things, so that's something you can ask her about. But let's get to making this bag. The pieces we're going to need for the Brentwood backpack, starting with hardware, are going to be 4 1-inch rectangle rings, 2 1-inch slide adjusters. If you were using 1.5-inch webbing for your straps, then those would be 1.5-inch. You need a total of 5 number 5 zipper pulls. 3 of them will be interior zippers that you don't see, but 2 of them will be on the main closure. I'm going to use a bag plate for the very front. I have various woven labels I'm going to be using along with a cork tag. Seems appropriate. I'm going to use some purse feet on mine, and I'll give you the measurements for those since the pattern does not call for that. I'm also going to be using some Chicago screws that go with the theme of my bag, but you could just use rivets, but there will be some fun spots that you can showcase. You need 3 8.5-inch long number 5 zipper tapes. These are all going to be interior and kind of hidden, so don't worry too much about color coordinating these ones. I'm just doing black for mine. My main zipper is 33 inches long, so you are going to need a cut of that for number 5. We have 2 cuts of 42-inch long straps. These will be the backpack straps, and they're 1 inch since I'm doing 1-inch hardware, so I have 2 of them in here. We have our handle cut, and I'm going to do a double-sided handle. One side will be seatbelt webbing, and the other will be my exterior vinyl. That'll be on the bottom of the bag. This is 2 inches wide, and I'm just going to fold in the raw edges, the long ones, and then cover that seam with some seatbelt webbing. So it's an option, it's off pattern, but it's really fun. It is the length of the pattern piece, it's just 2 inches wide instead. I have our base. I did this fun little stitch design since it goes with the theme of our bag. I've already punched my holes, but we'll get to that for my purse feet. So you need an exterior and a lining. I'm just using waterproof canvas. So this is interfaced per the pattern. You have your 2 side details. These are not interfaced at all, and I would not interface them either. I forgot before, but I also have 2 1/2-inch D-rings. I like to add these on the side detail pieces so I can have something to hang from, whether it be like an iPod holder or your work badge, your keys, your bitty bug pack. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So this is off pattern, but I really enjoyed that mod. Okay, this is our strap cover, and I did not interface it because this is thicker vinyl. You could definitely interface it for the pattern. I did it on my last one, but it was made out of cork and it was a much thinner textile, so we're not going to interface this one. We have two main lower panels. These will be hidden by the exterior slip pocket that goes around the bag. So if you're doing waterproof canvas, you'll want to interface it, in my opinion, to give good structure. I'm just doing vinyl, so I'm not even going to interface it because it'll be pretty good by itself. So I have two of those cuts. We have our exterior pocket front. This is going to be the large slip pocket that goes around, but this is just the front half. And here's the back half of that same slip pocket. And this is going to be the corresponding lining for the inside. So just be mindful that this ends up folding down and then this will be underneath. So you won't really see this one too much if you want to skip on some really nice fabric there, because you won't really see it. Same goes for the exterior pocket front lining. That is the back side of the slip pocket on the front. These are our connectors. It's a really cool funky shape, but it's made to keep your bulk down in your seams. So these are really cool to make. They do recommend putting Decaville Light for the interfacing. I'm not going to do it because, again, this is pretty thick. I think it'll be fine. I have two main lower pocket linings. These are actually the linings that are inside your zippered pockets that are hidden inside your slip pockets on the exterior of your bag. So do not interface those. Okay, the zipper pocket front is on the interior of the bag below the zipper pocket. It'll be what you see on the lining of the bag, so just be mindful of that. The zipper pocket front will be the bottom of one side of the interior. And you're going to have a lining for that zippered pocket as well. So here's the top of that zipper pocket front. So the front here, let me find it. So essentially, this will be on the bottom and this will be on the top, and it's separated but with a zipper, you know, to make the pocket. And then the other side is just a full piece that's basically that is the same size as this whole piece assembled. So you got one of those for the lining. I know it's so many checkers, it's probably hard to see, but this is one of the linings, and it's a full panel because this one will end up having the slip pocket. My slip pocket is going to be my exterior top print, and if it's directional, I mean, don't really worry about it. It's going to end up like that anyways, but you'll need one slip pocket. And then you're going to need two top panels. These are going to be on the exterior of the bag. Mine is a ripstop. I don't know if you can see, kind of you can see it. So because it's a ripstop, what I did was, it's a thin ripstop. I did a layer of woven, then my Decaville Light, then a layer of woven on top, and it beefed it up just enough. I think it's going to be great for that exterior top of the bag, but that is what I did. And it interfaced well, this ripstop. It did not shrink. I had no issues at all, so it ironed well. The other thing we're going to end up adding, which I haven't cut out yet, is a piece of cardboard. I did do this piece as for the stabilizer with the Decaville Heavy. As you can see here, it's fused underneath the woven that's fused on top. I like to slide a piece of cardboard in between these. That way the bag can be loaded up and it's still going to keep its shape really well. It's not going to plop out on the bottom. I did it on my first Brentwood I made and it was amazing. And I've been adding cardboard from shipping boxes I have to the bases of my bag for about a year now, and it works really well. Some people use like the plastic corrugated stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can use. I just use cardboard because it's recyclable and I've had no issues, especially when I have a waterproof canvas interior. So I'll cut one of these of cardboard. And then I created this flap stabilizer piece. I literally just took a piece of paper and was shoving it in to the flap. It's once you create this panel with everything attached to it, and you've sewn your darts and you've attached your zipper, I like to slide foam in there. I feel like it really helps the darts to stick out well and not sink in that much. And on the back panel, right here in particular, okay, right here on the back panel, this can kind of sink in because of these handle. So I added the foam in this bag. So there's foams just, you know, sandwiched in between here. And I do feel like It just gives it really good structure without being like too hard to manage. And the way this bag is designed anyways, it's genius, honestly. So I just added some foam. Up to you if you want to do it. I just shoved a piece of paper in there at that stage until I got one that was a size that fit pretty well and was out of the way for when I attach it on the very bottom when I attach the base. So this is just, I mean, I'm not doing anything with this, but I'm just saying you could easily create this piece yourself. I am not going to give measurements. Just shove a piece of paper in there and keep doing it until you get the right shape. It took me like 5 minutes. So I'm going to cut 2 of these of foam. Not adhesive, just regular old foam, and we're going to shove the foam in there. We're going to start off with our side detail. Measure your center marking, which is 5/8 of an inch. Make a mark on each short edge. Well, it'll be the long edge, but an inch in from the short edge, you're going to make a 1-inch mark. Just a little bit of a, okay? And then you're going to make a mark 1/8 of an inch on the short end, just like that. This doesn't have to be exact. I kind of winged it on my last one, but I wish I had done it this way. So what we're going to do is draw a line from this 1-inch mark down to this 1/8 inch mark. And that is what we're going to cut off. This is like a little taper. And so right now we are doing all of our prep work. We are on page 15, step 7. So if you need to read the directions, they're right there. Go ahead and cut off. Run a piece of 1/8 inch double stick tape down this long edge. Peel off the backing of the tape and fold this long edge into the line you drew. When you come to the sides here, you're going to make sure you bring that tapered edge all the way up to the line as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my roller and get that going. We're going to top stitch down both sides of this and repeat for your other side detail. So here is how those 2 side details look completed. You can see there's slight tapers in on the bottoms, and what it'll end up doing is just folding in and behind, and it hides well, which is why we taper it. We're going to add D-rings onto ours before we attach them, but that is the purpose of this piece. Let's go ahead and grab our side connectors. On the wrong side of your strap connector, you're going to draw a line that is 1 inch across the center of it. On the wrong side of your strap connector, you're going to draw a line that is 1 inch across the center of it. Run your double stick tape along both of these longer edges. Peel off the backing of the tape and fold into that middle line, and everything should line up pretty cool. These are really awesome, the way she designed these. What you're gonna do is come down, go over, and come back this way. You're gonna leave 2 of these unstitched. Okay, you can see here how these edges are not top stitched, but everything else is. Grab your rectangle rings, 2 of them. And go ahead and put those on. I'm going to clip it just to hold it. And before I do that, I'm actually going to trim out these corners here. I'm just going to kind of go in like that down there to reduce the bulk a little bit. And you can set these aside once you're done. Next, we're going to go ahead and build our handle. You can start by drawing a line down the center of your vinyl piece that we're folding in. Run some double stick tape down the long edges and then fold these long edges into that line. Go ahead and take your scissors and we're just going to cut out this very tip down here on a little bit of an angle so we have a little bit of less bulk. I'm not going to do it all the way down to the edges because I'm not going to be putting my webbing all the way down. It's a modification from the first one I made. I thought it would help with bulk a little bit. So I would say leave about an inch or so of no webbing down here. It will be sewn. This is the part you're going to see down here, but this will help with the zipper tape being attached on that back pocket. You're going to put the seatbelt webbing centered, and I like to turn it over and do the seatbelt webbing on the table and then my vinyl on top to help center it, because my vinyl is always inevitably a scotch smaller, which I like, but I need to help make sure it stays in the middle. And then I'm going to trim down this webbing to make sure it is also about an inch shorter. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's going to help a lot at the end. What you're going to do is 2 3/4 from the short edge here. Make just a line. And we are only going to top stitch down to that line. I am going to pull my thread tails through to the back so you cannot see that. But we're going to end up stitching this part down here once we're attaching the handle onto it, and it'll just look neater by not having overlapping stitches. You can do whatever you'd like. If you want to follow the pattern, we are on page 17 starting at step 9. So I went off pattern from this, but yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay, here is our actual handle. You can see it's not top stitched on the bottom. And that is all we need for this part. Let's go ahead and move on to the strap handle cover. If you attach your stabilizer on here, you're going to draw this on the 3 edges that do not have the stabilizer touching it. We're going to do a 3/8 inch line. If you have a ruler with a 90-degree angle on it, I would get it. It makes it a little bit easier for this part. But essentially what you're doing is you're drawing a line across here on this corner to make it pretty perfect. And that is what we're going to do. It needs to line up with the cross section of these 2 lines. And it really does need to be kind of perfect, just for the fact of this is where the edges will line up together. Go ahead and cut off these pieces of vinyl right at that line we drew for the 90-degree angle. Now you're going to take your 1/4 inch double stick tape and put it on the inside of the line. Take off the backings, and you're going to end up folding in these edges. If you have the stabilizer, you're going to fold it right up to the stabilizer. I don't have a stabilizer, so I just folded it right where this corner marking is here. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a strap cover. If you have some glue, if this is fabric, you know, go ahead and put some glue on your corners if it's a textile that can fray. Mine should be pretty good. So this is what you end up having. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch the 3 folded edges. I'm going to go ahead and trim off these little corners here. We are going to draw a line 7/8 of an inch up from the raw edge here. So we just finished on page 20. Now we're going to go over to the straps on page 21. It's step 14. I'm not making these kind of straps, so I'm going to skip all the way down until I am at page 23, and it's basically, I'm starting at figure 66. You do want to find the center of this raw edge here on your strap cover. Get your two seatbelt webbings that are your main backpack straps. And you're going to line up two of these short edges here. I'm going to put a line of double stick tape. I'm not going to remove the paper though, and it's not going to be too long of a double stick tape. It's like a 4-inch is what she says. Okay, and real quick, we're going to go ahead and buzz around both of these. We're basically going to stitch around our double stick tape a small tiny box just to kind of help hold these together. You can remove the double stick tape cover now, and you're going to align your webbing center marks and along the drawn mark, if that makes sense. I'll show you. Where our two webbings joined, it matched right here on the center of our cover, and then the raw edge of the strap, but the edge of the strap then goes with that line we drew. Okay, just like that. There is going to be like 1/8 of an inch of strap not covered, okay, and that's fine. That's what you're supposed to have. We're going to stitch this onto the handle, but we're only going to do it about 1/2 of an inch away from this raw edge of the cover. And to make sure I don't get too crazy, I'm going to draw a line that is 1/2 of an inch away from the raw edge of the strap cover. Sew a box that goes down the line you drew, and it's also going to go along the raw edge in the short ends here, okay? You can backstitch because this will be covered. Alright, get your super glue. And they're not joking, you need super glue. I haven't tried any other glue, but the super glue worked really well. What we're going to do is fold this strap cover around the, don't apply the super glue yet. I know on figure 70 she's putting the glue on right now and then folding. We're not doing that yet. I made a mess when I did that, so we're going to wait a bit. Okay. Get a little bit, I'm going to get some clips here. Actually, I'm going to get my clamps. I have thick vinyl, which is why I did not add that stabilizer. It's unnecessary for this vinyl for sure. This is that Shimmer Shift from Fabric Therapy. It's coming out soon, but it's kind of thicker like the Smooth Luxe. There we go. Now, once you're at this stage and it's folded over, and all you have to do is fold this down, and it should come and go right past your stitches, so you don't even have to worry about it. Now get your super glue, okay? Put it along this seam here. Don't put too much. I put too much and it freaking went everywhere, you guys. It was wild. I'm like, woo! And this is the best super glue I've ever bought. It's so good. Okay, now gently fold it over and then clip it or something. Try not to get it on your fingers. I'm a feely girl, and the feel of super glue on my fingers is disgusting. I hate it with a passion. Oh, I got some on there. Oh no, I got some on there. Alright, well, live and learn. And just clip this down. Alright, go ahead and set that aside. You gotta let it dry. Clip it to shit and let it dry, okay? That's a nice handle. Okay, set that aside, let it dry. Make sure it's away from all your other cool pieces. Okay, now you're going to take the top panel, the back of it, whichever one you are okay with being the back. Make sure your centers are marked on all your pieces. And you're going to want your handle And 2 more of your rectangle rings. Slip the rectangle rings onto your handle and make sure if you have a seam on your rectangle ring, make sure it's underneath the exterior. Nice stuff. It'll end up being flipped out like this for my handle, and I like that because it matches my straps. But for now, this is how we're doing it. So okay, what you're going to want to do is 2 inches from the right of the center and 2 inches from the left of the center, you're going to want to draw a line. You don't need it to go all the way up, probably just like 4 inches or so. I'm just going to use chalk because it's removable. Okay, on the wrong side of your handle, you're going to go ahead and put some double stick tape on this bottom part now, about 2.5 inches up. Okay, go ahead and take off your tape, and you're going to line up on the outside of this mark that you drew. Now, where we stopped our stitching is where we're going to stitch up to, but we're going to actually draw a line where that stitching ends, because we're going to be sewing across there. It'll be one continuous stitch to attach the handles on the bottom. Now we're going to stitch on each handle. We're going to start at the bottom, come up, pivot, go across on this line, and then come back down. You can back stitch at the start and the stop, but go ahead and attach both handles. I just want to mention before I go ahead and attach this side, this is actually a really nice place to go ahead and put a woven label or even a back plate right here on the back if you wanted to. A cute little woven label like right over here, right below this seam that goes across that you stitch. So that could be a really cute place to add a woven tag, or even on the outside, as long as this part is not too big of a tag and it won't get caught up in your dart seam. I'm going to go ahead and add mine on the outside and we can see what it looks like. I'm going to use my Crafty Reporter one. I just want to show you. So right here is where I added it. Below that line where we will stitch across, okay? And it's a small tag, so it kind of is inconspicuous, but enough to have my name on it, so I like that. Okay, so you can see how that looks. That looks really nice. I like it a lot, actually. And because we didn't put our webbing all the way down, it's going to be, and we cut out this little triangle of a seam, it'll be much easier to attach this onto the zipper. It was kind of thick last time I made this, so. All right, slide down your rectangle rings. Okay, we don't have the markings that Alexis has in her pattern. It's on page 26, figure 80. We don't have those because we didn't do the really cute stitching like she does in her patterns. But what I like to do is I'm going to measure and center a marking 1 inch above this stitch line here. I'm just going to mark it on both. And I have fairly thick rectangle rings, and I feel like it's still good enough that it won't get in the way. Now what I'm going to do is punch a hole just on the handle part, and then I'm going to make a marking onto my actual back panel and then punch that hole and then install either a rivet or whatever you're looking for. Today I'm actually going to install these Chicago screws. So here's what that looks like. Looks great. Here's the little Chicago screws installed. How adorable, right? So we're going to set this aside now. We're going to work on the bottom part of this. So you're going to need your main lower pocket lining, one of your 8.5 inch zippers, a zipper pull, and your main lower panel. So what you're going to do is with your lining right side up, go ahead and put some double stick tape along this short edge up here. Position your zipper right side up on top of it. You can line up your centers. Helps me. Your zipper will be a little longer than your panel, and that's okay. You're still gonna need all of it. I almost thought about even lengthening this to 9 inches. I didn't do it, but I had that thought the last time I made this bag. You can baste if you want to. I'm just gonna tape these together. I find that basting makes for a wavy zipper personally on my machine, so I don't do it. I just use the tape. Now we're going to take the zipper and lay it right side up on the opposite side. Now you're going to take the zipper right side up along the main lower panel's top edge. Okay, right now we're on page 27 towards the bottom, figure 86. So you're going to put your zipper, get some tape. Run it along the edge that you have the center marking on. Your zipper tape should be as long as this side, okay? And you're gonna run the zipper tape right side together, okay? Like this. So the zipper tape will go all the way to the edges, not the lining, okay? Just like that. We're going to sew this with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to use my zipper foot and I will meet you back here. Okay, now you're going to go ahead and separate your zipper. And we're going to fold these edges away from the zipper and top stitch. Now you're going to get your back panel that we finished earlier and put some tape along here. And you're going to take your edge with just your zipper and it's going to go right sides together like this. Line up your centers. And then your zipper tape should go all the way to the edge of the back panel or pretty close there too. Mine was a little short and it was fine, my first one. That's what I was thinking. Maybe like a 9 inch would be good and then we can trim it down, but anyhow, go ahead and sew this seam at a 3/8 inch seam allowance. You're going to fold your lining down and you're going to understitch right here 1/8 of an inch away from this folded edge. We're not top stitching because of our handles here, but we are going to understitch. Alright, now we're on page 29, step 21. Get your zipper pull. And you are going to be attaching this zipper pull onto here. Take your time with this and really make sure everything is lined up. I know it's a little bit difficult. This is why I think a little bit longer of a zipper might be easier for you if you're having a little bit of an issue. I got it. So the teeth are lined up on the edge here. And you're just gonna pull it all the way through and take it off. You're not gonna put it back on yet. Pull this down nice and flat and flip it over. Now, if you were doing this as a waterproof canvas, I did on the first time for this main exterior bottom, at this point is when I put like a piece of Decaville light out of the seam allowance to stabilize that bottom. That ended up well. I did keep it out of the seams quite a bit. Now, before we move any further, pulling the zipper tape away from the exterior here. This is figure 98. We're just trimming off a little bit of this for bulk. Now turning to the right side, pull up your exterior slightly and we're going to sew down these edges with a 3/8 inch seam allowance to close up this pocket. And you can go ahead and iron this if you want a really crispy edge. Okay, trim down this seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch and kind of taper it off on the top here. Don't cut into anything, just only cut the lining. we're going to take our zipper pull and we're going to install it again. I know, but it's for the greater good, okay? And you're going to want to just kind of keep your zipper pull right in the middle. We're going to go ahead and build the front panel now, and it's going to be exactly the same process. The only difference is we are going to end up top stitching on the front panel once we get to that step, since we won't have a handle in the way that we have to worry about trying to top stitch with a handle folded. That would be a nightmare. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom through that, but when I get to that process, I'll go ahead and slow down and let you listen to me speak, and I'll show you. But this is the back panel completed for now. Go ahead and set that aside. Let's go to the front. Now what you're going to do is pull this seam behind the top of the front panel, okay? And you're going to leave your lining going down towards the bottom, but the actual seam is behind the top here. And you're going to top stitch along this edge. Now our front is complete. If you don't have your bottom and top centers marked, you should go ahead and do that now for both your front and your back panel. We are now starting on the top of page 33, step 25. So we're going to move to our lining panel with the zipper pocket. We're going to go ahead and repeat the same exact zipper pocket process with this liner with the zipper pocket. I am going to be adding a cork tag on the top here. Okay, now we're finished with our zipper pocket lining, and I ended up adding my tag 2 inches down from the center instead of 3 because it's a bigger tag and it just looked better. So that's what I did there. Now we're going to move on to the other lining with the slip pocket. So we're going to go ahead and pop on over to page 33, step 26. Go ahead and grab those pieces. Okay, so we have our main lining and our slip pocket. We're going to put our slip pocket right sides together, and we're going to clip. Go ahead and sew along the short edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm going to just trim off a little bit of this side seam allowance, and you're going to flip it right sides out. So you're going to roll the seam to where it's 1/8 of an inch in, not exactly at the edge. But this is going to be the bottom edge, so make sure with it rolled out, this won't be the top seam of the slip pocket. Okay, so it'll end up being flopped over like this, and this will end up being the top up here. So the bottom is flipped over like that. You can go ahead and iron it if you need to, but we are going to top stitch on the fold opposite of where the seam is. So the seam's down here under here. We're going to top stitch up here. Okay, now that that is top stitched, we are going to place this 1.5 inches up from the bottom centered. Well, not centered, just 1.5 inches up from the bottom. So just make sure it reaches edge to edge. Now we're going to sew along these 3 edges as a top stitch. You could add a little woven tag if you want on the side seam, underneath the bottom here. You could also secure this with double stick tape if you need to. I'm going to put it on the side here, but I'm going to scooch it just a little bit up. Even though 3/8 should make it so I don't catch the little stars on the top, I just want to make sure. This is made with magic, isn't it cute? It's from Mormino a long, long time ago. I don't think she sells inspired stuff anymore. But once upon a time she used to, and it was glorious. Okay. That should be nice. Let's go ahead and sew this on. I'll meet you back here when it's done. I'm going to just tack this on right down here. It's taped on right now, but I'm going to just do a quick little stitch after I top stitch on my slip pocket. Okay, now we're finished with that. I'm going to trim just this very top corners here and make sure this slip pocket is flush with the lining. It just helps when you're sewing the darts and you don't have this extra fabric hanging out here. So there you go. The linings are totally done. If you wanted, you could add another woven tag or a cork tag or whatever tags you want up here. We're going to move on to page 34, step 27, installing the main zipper. For attaching the zipper, you're going to need your exteriors and your liners, all 4 pieces. You're going to need your long zipper and 2 of your pulls. Okay? Well, before you separate your zipper, I want you to find the centers of your zipper. Also, just a note here, if you want to add a bag plate on the front here, you can. On the top, we are going to do it on the bottom. The bottom does have more space, so I think it looks nice, but you could totally add something up here if you wanted to. I would probably add it, let's see, maybe two, like 1.75, 1.5 to 1.75 from this zipper. Add a line of double stick tape all the way around this edge here. Okay, separate your zipper tape. I'm going to take the backing off my double stick tape. And you're going to lay it right sides together, okay? So zipper teeth down. I'm putting the centers together. And don't pull on the tape, but you do want to have it go around the edges. Now take your tape again and lay it again on the raw edge here, pull off your tape, and then we're going to put our lining right side down. I'm going to grab my slip pocket lining to be on the back side of my front because I like my zipper pocket to be the part of the bag that lays on my body. So just line up the centers and stick down your lining. So your lining, making a zipper sandwich. Now, when you go to do these corners, they're kind of hard because of the zipper tape, but if you kind of pull like this with your finger and kind of round it back around your finger, it does make it easier to put the lining, to line it up without the zipper tape like unadhering itself and being annoying. So that's what I've been doing. If the lining arms are longer than your exterior, that's okay, because we do end up trimming them at the end, okay? And try to really make sure your zipper tape stays at the edge of your main panel and your lining. It'll make it so that the corners aren't weird looking with extra zipper tape poking out. Just trust me. Really make sure that zipper tape in these two top corners stays where it's supposed to. You will notice. Okay. Now I'm going to draw my 3/8 inch seam allowance on my corners. It just helps me keep it straight. I'm good on the straight edges, but I'm not very good sewing the zipper on without these lines. Okay, now we're going to sew this on with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to use a zipper foot. Now that we've got this done, you're going to want to cut out some of the seam allowance here, and this is why I don't, also it's like a bonus why we did not machine baste any of this on. Pull off the liner and the exterior from the zipper tape. You're not going to cut the zipper tape, but you are going to take your scissors and cut these little triangles. We want wide triangles, okay? Cut wide triangles out of the rounded seam allowance here. Alternatively, you could just cut it down, but it'll help it lay nicer when we top stitch it in a minute. I always start my triangles right in the center of the curve area if I can. This is like a sticky process. It's kind of not fun, but it works. I'm going to go ahead and pull it right sides out and top stitch. I'll show you in a sec. Okay, you're going to turn the panel right side out and check everything. You're going to pull the liner and the exterior away from the zipper seam as much as possible. If you want to iron, you can iron. I might iron my exterior because it feels like a little bit of my interfacing is coming disconnected, which is fine. But I'm just going to pull these back, and then we're just going to carefully top stitch along this line, okay? Okay, as you can see here, we did a double row of top stitching. It just helps the zipper to lay flat, so it is recommended you do a double layer of top stitching. One's 1/8 and one's 1/4 from the folded edge. So after you finish this, you're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing with the remaining exterior and liner that you have. Now we're on page 38, step 32. We're going to go ahead and create our darts. So after you've turned your panels out, you're going to want to check everything. You're going to turn them back wrong side out. You're going to clip the darts right sides together. Now from the very tip of this dart right here, you're going to mark 1 1/4 upward. You're going to use this as where you start to sew your dart. So from the notch, 1 1/4, right there. And that's where we're going to put our needle in and back stitch, and then we'll go ahead and sew our darts down. Follow the curve of this, and we're going to sew it with 3/8 of an inch. So I'll meet you back here once that's sewed. So now that our darts are sewn, I'm just doing one to show you an example. You're going to trim down your seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. Just be mindful where you have a zipper, you don't want to trim that. So trim everything else down to 1/8. And the other thing I would do is trim into this little peak here, just a smidge with tiny scissors. You don't want to snip your stitches, but you do kind of want to go up a little bit. It'll help your dart seam not suck in as much. Once you do your 2 exterior darts, for our interior darts, it's a little different of a situation. So let's do one side together. You're going to line up all your edges just like you did on the outside. Now you're going to start at the bottom here with 3/8 of an inch at the bottom, and you're going to increase your seam allowance to 1/2 inch till you hit the top here. So 3/8 to 1/2. That's because we'll be attaching the base, and the base all need to be the same seam allowance. So it's kind of like how we do in a bag, where we make sure the seam allowance stays the same on the top and we taper down. It's just reverse on this bag, which seems a little weird, but it's good. Just go with it. So do 3/8 for about 1.5 inches, and then taper up to 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I have my woven tag in here. I was worried I didn't account for the 1/2 inch seam allowance, but you can still see the tag. So that's good. I didn't mess it up too much. Cut off a little of the sparkle, but it's fine. Go ahead and trim this down. You shouldn't have to worry about the zipper on this side if you're doing the interior. I'm not going to cut my woven tag. I'm not going to cut my woven tag just because I don't want it to fray out of the seams. I'm just going to leave that kind of long, personally. So there's one. I just left this long because of my tag here. I don't want it to fray out. So repeat the same for this liner, and then you're going to do the same exact thing on the other main panel you have. Another tip I have for darts, especially if you're using a woven or some kind of textile that's not like vinyl or something, I'm just going to put a little dot of fray check right where I snipped up into that dart, just to ensure we don't have any issues with it fraying out in that seam. If you have excess that's hanging over, don't worry, we're going to be trimming that. Just make sure the top of the dart lines up properly so that the bag does not look crooked. Okay, now that it's turned right side out, you can see it's done. I'm going to go ahead at this point and trim down so you can see how we have extra. Just try and make everything flush with this bottom pocket here. This seems to be my shortest point, so I'm going to actually make this. Let me see if I can get it. This is my shortest point right here. So I'm going to trim up to this point across. All you want to make sure though is that both of your pockets are the same height. Okay, so if you trim off a little extra here, just trim off a little extra on the next one so that one, your back isn't taller than your front, etc., etc. I'll show you what I mean. You can see here I cut this one to be totally straight across the bottom, and what I'm doing here is I'm just lining up this top zipper and getting an idea of about how much I need to trim off the bottom here. You can see this, so I'm going to do about a 1/4 inch more to make sure they're about the same height. I mean, it's a negligible amount, but it is enough to drive me crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and trim this up, and then we're going to install the foam stabilizer I like to add. I've trimmed both of these up, and they're about the same height, standing on a table, so that's good. That's what we want. Now, before we move on, find the center of your bottom middles of your bottoms. Find the centers of your bottoms here. You will need this measurement. And the other thing I'm gonna do is just cinch this little zipper bottom just slightly. It'll make it easier when you put on the zipper at the end here. I have my piece of foam here, and I'm going to tilt you back down. Okay, I'm going to insert the foam into this piece, and then we're going to stitch up the bottom. So watch out for your pocket and just slide it in there. And this is by no means perfect. You just want it so it is not down by the seam allowance. So I'm going to use my fingers and pull it up to the zipper on the top here. And you can see it's out of my seam allowance here on the bottom. And that's good. That's what you want. And then I'm personally going to make sure I iron my outside, make sure everything looks really nice right here. We won't be turning this out again to where it'll get wrinkled, if that makes sense. Because this zipper goes all the way down to the bottom, it makes it really easy to turn in and out. So go ahead and put in your other piece of foam, iron everything up, do what you need to do, make it look pretty, and then we'll come back. I went ahead and inserted the foam, and I'm just going to baste these bottom layers together. And again, just make sure you have marked your centers here. You will need them to attach this to the base. At this point, we are going to install our zipper pulls. There are 2 of them, and you do need 2 of them. I mean, you could do it with 1, but it's easier with 2. Just do 2. So we have to install 1 on each side. And really make sure everything's even. Do you see how there's a little bunch in my zipper? I need some tape to come off. And it's not totally even over here. It's a little short on this side, so I can pull this side down a little. I really would encourage you to make this part, like, take your time with it. Because you'll be upset if it's... You've already come this far, you know. So here is our zipper installed. And it looks great. And with that foam in there, it's nice and stiff. It doesn't sink in too much, so I like that. And this will be essentially how it looks. Cute. I'm going to go ahead and baste over these bottom zippers. Be really careful and baste well over them. And then we're going to put this aside after we turn it out, but let's baste our zippers first. Okay, now our zippers are basted, especially since you took all that time to make sure they're even. I really would not skip this step. But you're going to pull it down most of the way, and then you're going to flip this right side out. This is why you needed the zippers to go all the way down into that pocket. I had quite a few people message me asking, well, why do we need so much zipper tape when you don't even see that much? And that's why, because it would be really hard to turn this bag all the which ways it needs to go without it. So this is how it's going to be, and now we're going to go ahead and put that aside. Look at that tag. I love that tag so much. So you need your exterior and your lining. I went ahead and put my purse feet 1.5 inches in from each edge. On my last bag, I did 1 1/4. I meant to do 1 1/4 this bag, but I misread. I read a previous instruction. But 1 1/4 is 1.5 is still fine. I'm just going to go ahead and install my purse feet on the exterior. And then we are going to baste the liner wrong sides together with the exterior. I will show you this part, but when I'm basting it around and I'm almost done, when I'm about right here and I started over here, I have this little bit left. I take my piece of cardboard that I cut out and I just slide it in, and it'll slide right in, and then I finish basting it up. So it works great. Let's go ahead and put our purse feet on first though. Okay, our purse feet are installed, so let's go ahead and baste our liner to our exterior. So now you have a nice sturdy base. Make sure your cardboard is right in the middle, but when we attach it, it'll make it that way. And I'm just gonna trim off any lining overhang I have so that during final construction it's super easy and attaches with the perfect seam. Okay, we're gonna build the exterior slip pockets now. You're going to want to find the centers of both your exterior pocket front and exterior pocket back. Please note that the exterior pocket back is like skinny way tall, okay? And you only need the centers of the bottom. We're gonna go ahead, we're on page 41 now. We're over at installing our handmade tag. On the exterior pocket front, it's figures 179, so that's kind of where we're at. Alexa says that she found 3 inches up from the bottom edge to be a good placement for a bag tag. I did that on my last one and it was great. So we're going to go ahead and install a handmade like bag logo tag thing here now. Okay, so we are going to do 3 inches up and centered. It's kind of a big piece of vinyl here. The 3 is my mark here. So I'm just gonna, have to kind of wing it here. Okay, maybe like right there. So there's 2 little dots here now. I'm just gonna mark them with my silver marking pen. Do this one and this one. I don't think this is the right washer for my back plate, but it's all I could find. So I am actually going to put a little bit of stabilizer on the back of this. Okay, so this is self-adhesive Therafuse, and I saw a girl on TikTok do this and I thought it was genius. I forget her name now, but she does this so you can't see a line on the front side of your vinyl once you adhere this. So I thought that is genius. I'm gonna do the same. I mean, like cutting the little, you know, what do you call those? Anyhow, I'm gonna peel off the backing of this, and I can see where my cut lines are, so I'm just gonna. Okay. Let's go ahead and test it out. Now it should be 3 inches up and centered. I'm going to check it now. It is 3 inches up, but it is definitely not centered, so I'm going to just using the prongs kind of shimmy it the other way. I'm going to fold my prongs in. Okay, there we go. So our bag plate is on. It's slightly off center, but I don't think it's too much to notice. It probably is. Why look? No, actually, it's kind of right in the middle. We're on page 42, step 36. We're going to be taking our liner and clipping it right sides together with our exterior. And you're doing this from the top, not the bottom. The bottom has the center mark. We're going to stitch this together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now we're instructed to trim away only the lining, not the exterior. We're going to trim it down to 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now fold your seam, fold your liner back, but keep the seam underneath the liner. You don't want to be bending your exterior fabric at all. And we're going to top stitch down here. So the seam allowance is underneath our, and I'm just going to trim off this little side here because it'll help reduce bulk in the end. And we're building everything. Okay, so top stitch down here on the liner. We're going to repeat this same exact step with the back panel as well, the back slip pocket panel. So go ahead and repeat what we just did here, sans the bag plate, but the same with all this on the back panel you have left. Grab your connectors. We're going to start on step 38, page 44. You'll need your main front panel pocket and your 2 connectors. You're going to place these connectors 1 1/4 inch up from the bottom corners. And make sure they are pointing upwards when the straight edge is on this side of the exterior front pocket. So you want to make sure they're not pointing down. They want to be pointing up. One 1/4 inches up from the bottom. And we are going to baste these on for both sides. 3/4 inch from the edge, this long edge here, is where you're going to center and put your hole for a rivet. You're going to punch the hole through here on the connector, then you'll draw a line to punch the hole through your front, your exterior front pocket, but we're not installing rivets yet. Okay, do not install a rivet, just get it ready. So do that for both sides. Okay, we went ahead and did that for both sides here. And I really just want to impress upon you that this exterior front pocket and the back pocket, I would really not interface this. You can interface it depending on what you're using, but you end up kind of rumpling this a lot, folding it in and out. So if you use Decaville Light on this piece and it's vinyl, you 99% sure you're going to get lots of wrinkles, and they're going to be hard to get out depending on like your vinyl. So I'm just not putting any stabilizer adhered to my vinyl. I did it on my the cork bag version I made, and it was fine. I had some wrinkles, but I was able to pretty much use a presser cloth and get them out because I didn't use Decovil Light. So there's that. That's just my opinion. Now we're going to get our exterior pocket back. So the back one and the front one. And we're going to put this right sides together. Make sure you're lining up these side seams here and clipping. The way we sew this together is pretty unique, and we're doing it because we kind of want the pocket to flare out a little bit on us so that we can stash things in there a little easier. So you're going to start sewing the side seam at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to kind of come down to 3/8 of an inch in the middle, and then you're going to go back out to a 1/2 inch towards the other end. So you're basically making like a nice little slope, and that way over here where it's a smaller seam allowance, it will pop out of the bag a little bit more. So you're making kind of a cone going out like this once it's all folded down. So go ahead and do that, 1/2 inch to 3/8 to 1/2 inch again. And then once this side is attached, we can go ahead and do the other side. So yeah. Now we're going to turn it right side out. Before we fold in our lining, we're going to go ahead and install our rivets right here. I'm not going to use Chicago screws for down here. I'm just going to go use a rivet. So I'm going to install both of these rivets with the holes we've already left, and I'll be right back. Okay, our rivets are installed. Now we can go ahead and fold our liner inside. So we're folding them wrong sides together, the liner and the vinyl exterior. And what you want to do is bring down this liner to the edge of the vinyl exterior. And I'm going to clip it. If you have the stabilizer on your exterior pocket, you'll just fold it right around that stabilizer. I'm not gonna do the Decovil Light, because it got real wrinkly on me on my last gig. But essentially, you will have the vinyl go down into the pocket like this. Do you see? Okay, so my pocket is clipped all the way around the bottom and all the way around the top. We're going to top stitch along this folded edge, and we are going to baste the bottom edge together. I'm going to top stitch my exterior slip pocket with the liner on the outside so that my actual stitch, I'm walking around on the exterior of it just to make sure it's nice. But I did use a plier clamp and just pressed the seam really well to help, since this is a little thicker of a vinyl. So now I'm going to top stitch this top edge. Okay, this is what you should now have, a little tubey tube. Okay. If you don't like how stable or not this is, remember, it's going to have a whole bag inside of here holding it up. So just my 2 cents. If you want to add some stuff in there, you could have stuffed it in before you sewed this up. Maybe foam. Foam might be better because then it won't. But Decovil Light, girl, rinks everywhere. Wrinkles is what I meant. I'm not sure why I said rinks, but okay. Anyways, we're moving on. Figure 207 on page 45 has a bunch of measurements we're going to do. We're basically going to mark 4 holes where the back panel meets the front. So right here on the front, we're gonna mark 4 holes. And then on the other side of the front, we're gonna mark 4 more holes. There should be a total of 8 holes. And it will essentially only be punching a hole through the vinyl part, okay? You're just punching the holes for now. That's all you're gonna do. And then we're gonna go ahead and finally construct the bag totally. So I'm gonna go punch my holes and I'll be right back. Our holes are punched. So remember, you have a total of 8, and you should just go right through the top band here. Now we're gonna turn this again, wrong side out. This is what I was saying about the duck of the light. Okay, there we go. So we got that pocket turned wrong side out. We're gonna get our main exterior here. Okay, so you're gonna kind of open this up a little, and don't worry, we basted these down here, but still be careful. You're gonna put this inside of here. And what you wanna do is line up the back panel, this little smaller section here, with your side with the handle, okay? Because that's the back. And then you're gonna push it down inside there and find your center. So you should have a center on the exterior main. These names are so similar, but this main exterior panel and the pocket need to line up the centers. And then on the front, you're going to line up the front with both of those centers there. And then just ease everything else together. And you're going to baste all of this together. Okay, baste this entire thing together with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to come back and put the base on, and we're basically done besides installing the straps. Okay, our bag is basted to our pocket. And now we just need to attach our base. I'm going to go ahead and grab my base. And you should have your center markings on your base. If you don't, go ahead and do that now. But you should have that. And I have a directional, so I have this little Deathly Hallows thing. And I'm thinking, like, I want it to point, let's see, that's the back of my bag. I want the front of my bag to have, point on it this way. Okay. So now I'm going to line up my center mark on my base to my center mark I already have here. And this can get pretty thick depending on what materials you've used. I also have this cardboard in here, which doesn't make it easier to handle. But I'm going to clip this around. I'm just clipping kind of the straight edge here. You can use staples if that helps you. I find these binder clips hold really well. So I'm going to slide this in here. There. Line up your center on the other side. And you can unzip this to make it a little easier. Just watch your zipper pulls. Make sure they're not in the way of the seam allowance. And you can also clip into your actual exterior here. Or, you know, like the bag panel. I'm going to call it the bag panel. It's more than the exterior, it's the bag panel. It fits pretty perfect though, you can see here. There you go. So what we're going to do is baste this on with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Then there won't be any clips, so it'll be a little easier to maneuver. We're going to sew it on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, if you want to do the 3/8 inch seam allowance, go for it. But I'm not going to do that. I am going to just do this. So I do my 1/8 inch and then I do my 1/4 inch final. That's the actual shape of my bottom that it'll be, that you'll see. Then I'm going to just clip on my fold over elastic and sew it on with this scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I think the trick to getting a really nice curve, at least for me and my machine, is I'm keeping the bag panel on my machine bed. I won't at any point put the base on my machine bed. I put it here under my foot and I roll the bag around like this as I sew around the seam, okay? I think a really helpful tool is your hemostats. It can help you slowly go around the curves and keep everything clipped as you're going. Okay, we have this basted on now, and what you're going to want to do is go around with your scissors and trim off any excess you have hanging over. Since this is going to be our final seam that affects the bag shape, we want this edge to be as flush as possible. So go ahead and trim off any little excess overhang you have. Be careful you don't trim your stitches. And make sure you've caught all the layers with your basting stitch. If you didn't, I like to clip somewhere so I know oh, hey, it's not attached right here, girlfriend. Like this. This is not attached right here. So what I'm going to do is clip so I know. So right there. And I'm just reaching my hand in the bag and pushing and checking. Which is kind of nice why it unzips all the way, because it really makes it easy to handle. And you can put your hand right in there since we're only sewing one seam, and give yourself guidance the whole way. It's really nice. Okay, now we're going to go around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to take my fold over elastic, and it doesn't really matter where you start to attach this. I also did switch over to a size 20 needle. I have pretty thick vinyl here, and I just needed something a little bit easier to sew through. So if you make your needle size larger, sometimes during thick layers it can make it way easier to sew. So I'm just putting there's like a center line here, you can see on the fold over elastic, see that? I line that up with the seam. Since my seam's pretty thick, it's easy. I'm putting slight tension on it, pulling a little bit on the plastic or on the binding, but not too much. But particularly when I go around curves, because I don't want pleating to happen. I want it to be nice and smooth. This is the one benefit I like to this type of binding, is I don't really get wrinkles. Okay, and I'm just going to trim off my double fold elastic a little bit past where I started. We'll probably end up trimming that down before we final stitch it on there. And now we're just going to do a scant 1/4 inch and attach this. I am going to keep my hemostats on it to make sure it doesn't slip out and that it catches it on both sides. Okay, now we can turn the bag right side out now that our binding is all attached. This is also why it's so nice to have these zippers all the way down here. Look at this. It's going to be so nice. Okay, reach in there and grab your zipper and pull it up past the pocket, past the slip pocket, I should say. So you can see why I don't like Duck of a Light on this piece. It's a lot of like creasing for it. I think your foam could be good if you have a thin vinyl. So there you go. She's done. Boop, boop, boop. Now we're going to work on the strap, and we are going to add on our little accents. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to rivet these two closest rivets together. They're going to be hidden underneath the side details, so you won't see them. I wouldn't use really cute ones, but you are going to want to lay flat and kind of center these two holes in the zipper in between the holes here. You see how I'm kind of centering that? And then get a marking utensil and mark where those holes are going to be. Okay. So go punch a hole and then install your rivets, and repeat that for the other side as well. Okay, I know that was a little bit of a workout, wasn't it? But you can see now it really does prevent the zipper from going all the way down. So that's nice. Now we want to install, I'm going to pull my zipper pulls to the center, these zipper pocket ones down in here. You're going to get your connectors. I'll be using Chicago screws, so I'm going to grab those. And do not forget your little D-rings. So you're going to get your one of your connectors here. I'm going to make a 2-inch mark, okay, on from each short edge here. Get a little piece of double stick tape, and you're going to run it about 1 inch from the short edge. And then just take your short edge and fold it to the 2-inch mark we made. So you're essentially folding in 1 inch. Put your D-ring on before you do all that. Okay, there you go. So that's what you have. Now, 1/4 inch from the edge of the folded edge here, we're going to make a mark. That's where you're going to install your rivet. And you're going to go punch a hole that goes through all the layers here. Because what we're going to end up doing is wrapping this and attaching it like that. So you'll cover up those other rivets, and then this will be attached like that. There you go. The side detail is done. We're going to repeat that on the other side. There you go. Now let's go ahead and get our strap. You want your handle to be facing up, the seam side up and towards you. And then you'll go ahead and thread your strap in there. So that when it pulls down, it's like this with that little fold, okay? This is going to end up, honestly, twirling around, and you'll be fixing it every now and then anyways, so don't worry about it too much. But you do want it straight. So just like that. Slide adjusters, you're going to make sure the bar side is up, that does not have the seam on it down here. And then just go down and thread this under, above the bar, and back down. Okay, pull that up. It's going to go through the side here. This is the bottom of it, so it will be equivalent to being back here, okay? And the bottom up will go under the side, and then you're going to slide it, the bottom again. I always like to pull out a little of this right here. The bottom goes, you can either go over the bar or under the bar. I like to go over the bar and come back down, and I'll tell you why. Just like that. Okay, do you see that? I have no twists, so if I lay these all flat, they all come together without a twist. Okay, no twist. So these are all flat. They're all touching. There's no twists in my strap. So I like to go over the bar and take this and fold it under again right here, okay? I like to do that because then this folded seam here that I'm going to stitch down does not touch the body. The body will be touching only on the strap back here, okay? But you can see here, holding it in place here, we can clip it so I can show you what it looks like. I'm just going to line it up. I leave enough that I can fold this back and then stitch this without any hardware getting in my way. So I'm going to clip this. And now what we have is the strap is straight through here, comes down. All of this is not kinked, okay? Just like that. Do you see? So let's go ahead and repeat that over here. So now we're going to fold back these handles or straps and do our top stitching. We're going to do that to both sides and we'll come back. Our straps have been properly installed as long as there are no twists in the line at all. And this can move in here, okay? That's for our crossbody slash backpack slash shoulder strap. It works great for all of them. You did it, bestie! You made a Brentwood backpack! What'd you think? I love it. This is a great bag to showcase all kinds of things. I think the next one I make, I'm going to put the print on the bottom and the solid on the top. Mix it up a little. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you could like it. If you enjoy the style of teaching I provide, I would appreciate if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for making this with me. I'll see you next time.